Hey, I'm Di Gillett, and this is the Power of Women podcast. We're a platform that showcases and celebrates the strength, resilience and achievement of women from all walks of life. In each episode, I'm going to pose questions to my guests that are going to peel away the layers to reveal the knowledge and experience that shapes their narrative. If you're feeling unseen, unheard, or are simply looking for inspiration, then the Power of Women podcast is a fantastic place to join the conversation. But before we start, are you actually following the podcast on your favourite platform? I'd love you to do so. That allows us to bring this content to you week after week, so thank you. Today's episode, we're going to focus on change. All things about change. Change of career, change of focus, change of lifestyle, change of life, change of relationships. And with me is a very special guest who in many respects, I would say, is a poster child for Power of Women. She has a diverse career, is a committed mother of 2 women in their 20s, has truly embraced the importance in life today, specialising in supporting women through change. I'd love to welcome Karen List. Hi, Karen.
Hello, how are you, Di?
I am very well indeed. Karen, I'd like to just set the narrative if I could and just run through a brief bio so we've got some backstory into this rich conversation that we're going to have today.
Great.
So you're a communication specialist who for most of your career has included radio as an announcer, newsreader and journalist in media relations, marketing and tertiary education, as well as film and television. Then it's been a journey of personal development and self-exploration over the past 3 decades that you describe, and I agree, is your greatest passion and where you feel most drawn to and make the most difference in other people's lives. Today, you're a transformational coach for women, informed by the Women-Centred Institute for Coaching, Facilitation and Leadership. You're also, interestingly, a student of shamanism and earth-based medicine. You're a passionate gardener, a nature lover, and an enthusiastic renovator. So now, this is Power of Women with Karen List. I know you're based in Queensland now, but where did you grow up?
I was born in Melbourne.
In Melbourne. Fantastic.
Grew up in Melbourne till I was about 13 and then had the next 13 years or so in Sydney. Mm-hmm. And then leapt into the state of Queensland for my career, really.
And what's the most powerful learning you've taken away from your childhood?
Wow. To not be defined by it.
Yeah.
I would say. I think a lot of us grow up. Actually, I think we come on this planet with woundings and things that we need to learn. That's our journey. I think my life has been informed by, finding out who I am and not being led by things that potentially may have happened to me as a child, and wanting to always overcome that. Like I've always had this desire to really step into my potential. And so that means to unpack things that I feel, may be holding me back.
Great.
And that's really guided my whole life, and it's definitely guided my journey as a mother as well.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, experiences come in all shapes and sizes, but that's clearly played a significant role in shaping the journey that you've embarked upon and where you've landed.
Oh, it most definitely has, and I think that's why I'm so passionate now about really helping women step into their potential. There's so much about our culture that just, holds us back without us even realising it, I think.
Let's start there if I could, because you're a transformational coach for women, and it's the word, and you've used it a couple of times, and it's an interesting one. You're informed by the Women-Centred Institute for Coaching, Facilitation and Leadership. Can you tell us about the Institute?
Yes.
Share that with us.
I'd love to tell you about the Institute. I'm just so grateful that I found them. My mentor, her name is Dr. Claire Zammit.
Right.
And she's really a leader in the women's empowerment movement today. I think you could really.
And where is she based, Karen?
She's based in California.
Yes.
But I love to say she's actually an Aussie. But she's been in America for a long time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And she's got some fabulous work on feminine power. And she really is an absolute, she just stands up for the way of looking at what's going on the planet today, that women are in a state of evolution that we've never been in before.
That resonates.
She has a fabulous training called the Essential Course for the Awakening Woman, where she really unpacks a lot of, she's got a PhD in this, right? So she's been really studying this whole movement, what it is that sets women apart from men in terms of the way that they self-actualize. And so a couple of years ago, she actually founded the Women-Centred Institute for Coaching, Leadership and Facilitation.
So this is a relatively new institute?
Yes. She's had feminine power. She has a company called Evolving Wisdom with her husband, Craig Hamilton. And she's been teaching in this area and empowering women in this area for, I think, 2 decades. She's really created something that she sees such a need for. There's so many women out there that want to self-actualize, and there's so many women that feel called to support other women. And so she's training many, many women up at the moment in this area of woman-centred coaching. So we specifically work with women in what are the things that particularly hold us back. It's a really fascinating conversation. And
That's brilliant. So if somebody's listening today and they're not truly linked into this space, self-actualize. So if somebody is to self-actualize, can you expand on that?
Look at it in this way. Like, I think, okay, the women's revolution began in the 1960s. And I feel it's not coincidental that I was born in the 60s, as I know you were too, Di.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, we've been along this journey of equality, and this journey of, okay, if we want to be successful, then we have to be successful in a man's world, in a patriarchal society, which we live in. We've lived in for many thousands of years. And the thing about that is that it totally negates the feminine power system. So we've been working all these years to be successful, to show up like a man, to be powerful like a man, to make money like a man.
That really rings a bell, because I know to succeed in the workplace for so many years, I played like a man to get ahead. Not sure that I'm proud of saying that, but I did do it.
No, but we did it because what other choice did we have? And all the while, we still, for those of us who choose to have kids, we're passionate about our family and our children, and we're passionate about, bringing up our kids and being present, because that's, one of the most powerful things that you can do for children. And then you're trying to manage this ridiculous work-life balance. And we got to the point that everyone went, well, that's really not realistic, right? And then you take time off to have a child. We lose steps in the corporate
ground.
We don't want to work those kind of hours where we're going to be in the office 60 hours a week, because we have other things that are important. And all this time, it's like we've got to the point that so many women have done amazing things, and they've achieved in this platform. But I think we're getting to a point these days that, okay, we've achieved, but what now? And it doesn't actually give them this sense of fulfillment. So now we're looking at, well, actually, as women, we want to self-actualize. We want to bring on board all the gifts and everything that it is to be a woman, and the feminine power system of being a woman. Because let's face it, everything in life is balance. Everything in life has to have a balance.
And it's where things fall apart when there isn't balance.
That's right. And society's been so masculine balanced. And as women, sometimes we feel if we bring the feminine essential qualities of us, that can be considered, we're weak and we're powerless.
And emotional,
waiting
all of those
somebody to
negatives
recognise us. Yeah. But it's not, because the feminine power system, we want connection. We're intuitive. We can work with flow. We can, be connected to others. We can come up with solutions in this environment that I think the world is crying out for right now.
So when you talk about the awakening of feminine power, and you just said it, the word that comes to mind for one of the big words that keywords that comes to mind for me is intuition, which is what you've just said. So how do we tap it? And appreciate this is not a counselling session, but how do we tap into our feminine power? How do we do that?
Well, I mean, there's a really big topic.
That's probably not a simple question.
Yeah, it's not a simple question. I have many things that I could say to that. But okay, let's look at a couple of things. For example, Claire, Dr. Zammit, talks about the socialised mind. So, for example, in our culture, it's a known fact that women blame themselves when things go wrong a lot more than men, and they feel like they've failed. Like in our culture,
that's just learnt behaviour.
It's learnt behaviour. I mean, this is not. We don't live in a culture where it's safe to fail and make mistakes. These days,
I agree with that.
We just get hammered in a second by people on social media. Where's the grace? Where's the humanity? I just find society has just lost so much humanity. There's the power gap, and you mentioned this before, Di. Women who go out there and they achieve and they climb the corporate ladder and they're CEOs and they're making amazing money. They're looked upon as society as maybe selfish. They're looked upon as harsh. They don't look at men in that way.
No.
There's
and God forbid they wear the wrong thing and somebody jumps on them for that too. And we've never talked about a man's suit.
Exactly. Their jewellery, their hair. These are all things that are just they're ingrained things in our culture that women are dealing with every day without even realising it. There's the confidence gap, right? Women, I think the statistic is have to be 85% confident about doing something before they'll step out and do it. Men don't feel that way. If men fail, they just go, they take it as a lesson and they move on and try again.
That's fascinating. So does that? So I'm thinking about how that plays into spontaneity and risk taking. That all gets stymied as a result of the fact that we almost need to pressure test something before we embark on it?
We do. I mean, you look at the fact that women, more than men at the moment, are starting their own businesses in much higher percentages.
Yeah.
But not many of them crack the 6-figure ceiling. What does that say? I mean, there's so many amazing women out there creating amazing businesses. They're bringing their creativity. They're creating amazing things. But
it's not sustainable.
No, well, they're just. It's like Dr. Zammit calls it your inner glass ceiling. We women have an inner glass ceiling, and we need to smash it, man, because the world needs us.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting. I might have told you this story once before. I can remember being in a forum that was it was AFL sponsored, women in football some years ago, and the keynote speaker was the then head of Victorian Police, Christine Nixon, and she was talking about glass ceilings, and I was there with a guest, and I turned to her and I said, I don't really believe in glass ceilings. I think we create our own, and it's up to us to push through. And she said, I dare you to stand up and say it, which I did. And then it was like, look around the room for the exit, because it was such an unpopular thing to say that I think many women create their own glass ceilings.
But when you think about the things that I've just shared with you, about the things that are embedded in our culture, I think it's something that all women face.
Yes, so it's
And
ingrained.
Exactly. And you have to be like, you're a very driven woman, and you've gone out there and you have created success, and you've, I'm sure, worked super hard, probably harder than the men in your office, right? And
That would be correct in many cases.
Success, but
Yeah.
what what have you had to give up for that? That a man wouldn't have had to give up.
Cooking. Happily gave up cooking. But no, you're absolutely right. Enormous number of sacrifices along the way to actually build that, and the other things for the men in the background, life was ticking along. So yeah. No, I haven't played that role terribly well. So, in specialising in supporting women through change, and I recognise change as it's your words, I think, that change is a powerful opportunity to identify who you want to become and what you'd like to accomplish in the next chapter. Talk us through that, because that's a profound statement.
I love it.
Well, I like to think I specialise in transitions, right?
Yeah.
Because we have so many. And, it's really interesting. In Indigenous cultures, there's many, many rites of passage. All amazing things that you go through in life, becoming a man, becoming a woman. These things are all observed and honoured. And in the Western culture, we don't do that. We don't honour changes and transitions and things that we go to, that we go through.
And that's very true. Yeah.
And I think the reason this is really spoken to me is because I've been through so many changes and transitions in my life. But we get to, and I love to focus on women in their third act, which is a term coined by Dr. Jean Houston, who's an amazing author and really the leader of the human empowerment, leadership potential. That's what we're calling. And that's her term, right? So I'm looking at like women 40, 50, 60. I think there's specific things that we really face at that time. And, I'm in that group too. So I'm working on with my own experience. Look at, me, I've been a mother for 20 years, most of that as a single mother, and that has been my most important focus, right?
Yes.
So in the last year or so, both my daughters have moved out of home, and it's kind of like, wow, it's like I've been so focused on this particular thing, but for the last 2 decades, and now you're so excited for them that they're going out and they're, starting their own lives. But as mothers, we have to totally reevaluate who we are.
Because you've been defined as a mother, and now, not that you're not still a mother, but it's not that day-to-day focus. Yeah.
And then you come to the fact that perhaps you've been doing a particular job for many years to pay the school fees and all those kind of things, and you don't need to do that job anymore because you don't have the same bills, and you're suddenly thinking, I don't even like this job. Like, I've got a good
the means to an end.
Years. What do I really want? What do I want to do? What meaning do I want to? I want my life to have meaning. And how can I look at doing something that has meaning? See, we really talk about helping women to uncover their deeper desires. When do women get asked?
That's a deep bucket. That's a deep bucket. Yeah.
And so when we can feel, as women, we can feel overwhelmed and we can feel undervalued. And, you know, there's a time, and then we get into these changes where we just don't know who we are or what we want, and we're looking at the next years of our life and thinking, oh my God, am I just going to have more of this? No, this is where I really want to help women. I call them crucial crossroads. So let's unpack all of that. Let's unpack the meaning that you've made around all of that where you are right now, and let's look at what really means a lot to you. What do you really desire? What are your unique skills and talents that you may have never had a chance to even bring them forward? And let's bring all those things together, and let's take time to look at, what do you really want in life? What would you like to create for your life going forward?
And I imagine, and you talk about the, feeling points at time of feeling overwhelmed or undervalued. And I imagine what a 40-year-old experiences is very different to what a 50-year-old experiences, to what a 60-year-old experiences. What are some of the triggers of those feelings of being overwhelmed that a 40-year-old might experience?
Well, if I can think back those couple of decades.
Yeah, I know. It's a couple of years ago.
I think, it depends, because everyone reaches these stages at different times of their life. Some women might be in their 40s when their kids leave home.
Well, that's true. They could have started their families very young.
Or, that's often, I think the 40s is often a time when our relationships, our marriages
get tested.
Or they break down, or they disintegrate. All of a sudden you were married woman, now you're a single woman. I've been through that transition. That's huge.
Yeah, and that's a huge club. Yeah. Men.
Yeah. I mean, I'm coaching a woman at the moment who's 75.
Wow.
And I honour her so deeply, because here she is at 75 and she wants to make the most of her life, whatever she's got. She wants to know what her gifts are, because she wants to bring meaning to her life, and she wants to be of service to her community.
Isn't that brilliant?
Isn't that brilliant?
I mean, that is brilliant. Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
And because the other thing is, as women die, we go to shame-based meaning a lot in our lives for what has happened.
What does that mean? So what?
Well, we blame everything on ourselves. We fail. Oh, it must be me.
Must be my fault. Yeah.
Must be my fault. Whereas a lot of the time, it's actually a skill gap. We fail because we didn't actually know what to do next. And I look at the women that I've worked with, and they carry shame from things that have happened all through their life. And a lot of the time, it wasn't their fault. They don't deserve to take the whole blame of that and carry that through their life. It actually makes me cry.
It's interesting. I mean, as we talk through this, and the old term, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, but you can absolutely see the two bookends that define the thinking and how we've nurtured both sides of the genders. It's extraordinary.
If a man is in his healthy masculine power, and a woman her healthy feminine power, my God, there's nothing we can achieve.
The world could be a great place.
Oh my goodness. And that's why we're rising up women right now. We need the solutions.
So is there something in astrology in that you say women in their 60s? Is there something of a higher meaning that says this is women's time, or is this simply a movement that's gained traction?
Well, I guess there's a couple of answers to that, and I don't think any of them are short. But the divine feminine is rising on the planet right now. We're going through a massive change. We're stepping into the age of Aquarius. We're having a change in epochs. Like, these are thousands of years of
in the making.
Things that are in the making. Yeah, absolutely. You know, so I mean, I don't think a woman has to be a particular age, but I've just really felt that a lot of these issues or crossroads do come up when we're in our third act.
That's right. And it's interesting. In talking to many females as part of this Power of Women platform, and the majority of those that I am speaking with are over 50. Not necessarily deliberately that way. It's just how it's turned out, because I'm looking for the rich lived experience to pass on the knowledge to others. Hence, it takes time to garner that rich lived experience.
It does.
But there's so many amazing women out there doing things that we just don't know about. Hence why this whole platform has been established. But you're absolutely right. This generation of women, particularly, I think, coming out of the 50s and 60s, it is really our time. It's seriously our time.
It is, and I feel like we were born at that time for this reason now. Those of us who were mothers, we're mothers to children, because I mean, my life has been all about personal development for myself.
Yes.
So I can go through life and I can be the best person I can be and not carry any ancestral baggage, pass it down to my girls. I've been so inspired to be the best I could be for them, because I want them to go and be able to step into their life without childhood baggage. I mean, I don't think that's totally realistic. We all got...
Yeah, of course. It's part of the backstory.
Yeah, and I think that, that we are all here at this time, and the young people that we've had in our lives, whether they're our children or, our friends' children or nieces, nephews, I think we're here to guide them, because obviously these are going to be very powerful generations coming up behind us, because they already don't.
Do they recognise the gift you've given them?
I'm not sure. You probably have to ask them.
You're the last person they're going to tell.
Yeah. They're both fabulous, and I love them very deeply. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done, you. Well, coming up, Karen and I are going to continue the discussion around change, and then we're going to get really personal. Welcome back to Power of Women with Karen List. Karen, we've talked in quite significant detail about the coaching work that you've been doing, but there's a lot more to your repertoire than just coaching.
Yes, 25, 30 years of personal development work has given me a lot of tools in my toolkit.
Yeah.
Well, I have a saying. I like to work with breath, sound, and voice. So the voice part is the coaching. The sound part is I also am a sound healer. I work with crystal alchemy singing bowls, and we create events, and I'm sure a lot of people have experienced sound healing. It's really had a resurgence in recent years. But people don't really understand the power of sound and the vibrations of sound that can really make changes to us in our physical body.
So this is more than the sound that we hear through meditation, or it's all interlinked?
The bowls, I play crystal alchemy bowls.
Right.
And these bowls are made of crystal, semi-precious gems and minerals, and they're fired at very high degrees. So I have bowls that are a beautiful combination that might be made of lapis lazuli and platinum and rhodochrosite and minerals.
So they're very beautiful as well as they sound amazing.
They're spectacular. And sound, when you play them, I have one set that's particularly tuned to the chakras, to our energy centers. So it works particularly on, vibrating in alignment with our energy centers. And the beautiful thing about it is you just really need to show up and lie down. But what it can do, it calms our thinking mind, and who in most days doesn't need a bit of that.
Yeah, getting the quiet.
Brings our heart rate down, our blood pressure down, helps us sleep better.
Wow.
We can really tap into our creativity sometimes, because I always say to people, everything you do it with an intention. What do you want to get at?
That's so true. I mean, I repeatedly in life, I love to go up to the Sunshine Coast and walk through the Noosa National Park. And always, without question, I will have another epiphany, idea, brainwave that comes out of spending time in that environment where it is still and quiet and serene, because there's no other noise. Clears the mind. So it sounds like a similar experience in what you're doing with the sound work.
Yeah, and what you're saying too, I'm really passionate about bringing people back to the natural world, because for what you're saying, there is so much healing in nature for us, and we've become so disconnected, and that's what I'm creating here in my property with my partner is to create a place where people come and they can experience the natural world, they can experience a sound healing, they can sit on a bench.
So you're building a retreat, aren't you? I think you mentioned. Tell us about that. So,
well, we live in the Gold Coast hinterland. We've got a beautiful spot up in the hinterland. Anyone that knows the Gold Coast, we're the green behind the gold. And just have a beautiful space here, and we've created a venue, a room, so we do our own events there now, workshops and sound healings and coach workshops, and it's just a beautiful place to be.
Wonderful,
it's a beautiful environment. Yeah,
and you live in that every day. Lucky
I do. I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky.
Yeah.
Mind you, you make your own luck. It didn't just happen. So you've manifested and made your own luck.
I've done everything with intention.
Yeah. Very powerful.
So Karen, I said we're going to get personal, and here's where we will get personal. So up until the age of 52, you embraced a heterosexual lifestyle. What changed? Where do I start?
What changed? I fell in love with a woman.
Simple as that.
Simple as that. It really helped me to understand when people say it's just about love, it's not about gender.
Yeah.
No?
I recognise that.
I laugh because I call it my 52 years of heterosexual life.
Well, I think they were your words that I used to introduce it. So,
and we laugh about that. And I fell in love with a friend of mine who'd been a friend of mine for many years. She was actually a teacher of mine as well.
Right.
It was very unexpected. It certainly wasn't something that I planned, but things shifted and changed in our lives. And
did it take you a while to accept that that's what you were feeling for a woman, was love?
We did have a lot of conversations because she actually felt attracted to me before I felt attracted to her, and we were on different sides of the world at that point. So every conversation we were having was on the phone. And so I was really, really surprised when she told me that she'd developed feelings for me. Here's another way that women don't regard themselves, because I held her in very high esteem. Thought she was amazing. I had deep respect for her. I thought, what would she see in me?
Oh wow!
That was my first.
That was your first
thought. Yeah, so I had to unpack that before I could even take the next step. We talked a lot about it, but we were talking and we weren't in each other's energy. We weren't
physical space. Yeah.
And it wasn't until she came back to Australia 6 months later and we were talking about it. And honestly, that first weekend that we were together, I just totally had these whole different feelings come over me. That rush of feeling when you realise that you're attracted to somebody.
That giddy feeling.
Your heart starts beating faster.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow, I'm feeling these feelings for her. Yeah. So
you allowed yourself to feel those feelings.
Yeah. And then we have a funny line that we always laugh about. We were sitting there at dinner and we were talking about it. I mean, I'm looking at it from my lens of being a heterosexual woman with 2 children, and
Isn't it interesting, in a very defined space rather than just being? Yes.
Yeah, and thinking about all the people that would impact. So you think about your family, friends, and you think,
Yeah.
And then we were sitting for having dinner one night, and she said to me, "So what have you got to lose?" And it was like this massive light globe went off for me. So it's like, oh my God, what do I have to lose? I mean, I really only have to gain, because here's this woman who I absolutely, hold in the highest regard, love her as a person, have such huge respect for her. We have, lots of similar interests and goals, and I thought, well, even if
a powerful basis for a relationship.
Yeah, even if we formed a relationship and it didn't ultimately work out in the long term, I still
Back to the point, what have you got to lose?
I stood to gain a lot more than I stood to lose. Yeah, and that was just like, it was like this light bulb moment. And to be honest, I hadn't had any of that with the men that I've been in long-term relationships with.
Well, I mean, you're talking about the respect and the admiration from a professional context as well. That's rare. That's I mean, that rarely happens in a partnering between a male and female. So how long have you two been together for now?
Coming up to 8 years.
Oh, good heavens.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And you know what the thing is, Di, that I think is the most deeply moving thing is that I feel truly seen for the first time in my life.
Oh, wow.
Because that's what we've been talking about, and that's what the third act talks about, is this whole thing about feeling unseen. So, yeah, that's hugely powerful. Hats off to you.
So I feel like I've really been guided in my life, to take steps, because I'm always looking at how can I step more into my potential. When it's time for me to leave this planet, I don't want to leave anything on the table. I want to give all my gifts. So I want to be of service to as many women as I can.
Yeah, what a powerful calling, and it really is inspirational. And I know people listening to this are going to be super, super inspired and seeking out a conversation with you, and possibly visiting the Gold Coast too, because I know that hinterland is just an amazing space. I've done it many, many years ago in the retreat space, but
we're still in creation phase. But
okay,
I've got visions of where I want us to be in the future. But we definitely we have space.
There is women in their third act building something bigger and pursuing personal and professional goals that extend beyond what you've done before. So we're not done yet.
And you wouldn't believe, because you said I'm a passionate renovator, right? I've been flipping houses for like 6 years or so. This is my biggest project to date here, because we're on about 3 acres, and I've been creating space because I'm building a house for my mum this year.
Oh wow! As part of the space, or
she'll be here on the property. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful!
And so I've been working with excavator guys and builders for the last year to shape this whole property. Like, we've created something here already that wasn't here before. And I'm just in my element when I'm doing that, being creative and working with a team. And it's just been so much fun.
That is something to learn from, that we know Europeans do so well, of looking after the generations and having them close by. It's really something to learn in that. That's it is in your blood. That is fantastic. So, Karen, I have 3 questions that I would ask of all of my guests, maybe slightly modified in your case, because I would normally ask somebody what is a phrase that defines you, but I know that you have a motto that you live by. What is that motto?
My frequency defines my reality.
Explain.
Because our thoughts create our reality. They truly do. And it's a very deep sentence to really take in, because if you take in your life and you think that you created it.
My frequency creates my reality. It's a belief. It's a belief system.
Yeah. And I'm not being glib about people that have had, like, you know, tragic things in their life. I mean, I'm not being glib about that. But
No.
But, you know, we create our reality. So every day when you get up, what's the first thing that you think? You know, are you already thinking about all that stuff that happened yesterday that, you know, is not working and it's just going to be the same today? Or are you going, wow, today's a brand new day. It's a glorious day. I'm so lucky to be on this planet. I'm so lucky to live in this environment. What am I going to go out there and create today?
Yeah.
I don't know that there is anything in this yet, but what haven't you had a chance to put on your bio yet? Is there any room for anything more?
Actually, thinking about what I haven't put on my bio and what I will never be able to put on my bio is how much being a mother has informed my life and the person who I stand here today, and everything that I bring to everything that I do has been informed by, you know, 20 years of really wanting to be the best person that I can be and looking at myself, you know, realistically, and apologizing when I, you know, get it wrong, and stepping up and being
rule book.
Because I'm leading the way for two amazing, powerful young women. And when I stand in front of anyone, that is innately who I am. But you can't ever put that on your bio. You know what I mean?
Well, no, but it is part of your story, and yeah. So, if there is any listener, anybody out there listening to the podcast who is feeling unseen or unheard, what would be your, and we've already had many pearls of wisdom from you, but what would be your closing pearl of wisdom for somebody in that situation?
If you're feeling unsettled in your life right now, and if you're thinking like your life is not looking, you know, the way that you want it to be, then I reckon you're up to something big. There's things stirring in you, right? You're up to something big. So do honour yourself and follow that path. What is it what are the gifts and the talents and the deeper desires inside you that are bubbling up that you want to unpack? You know, we're rising up. We are self-evolving. There's so much inside us, so much power, so much strength. And a lot of the time we haven't had the chance to showcase any of that. So let's do it. Let's make the commitment. Let's make this world a better place. Let's be who we truly meant to be.
What a fantastic time to be a woman.
Yep.
Thank you for listening to the Power of Women podcast, and thank you, Karen, for being such an amazing guest, and thank you to Chocolate Studios for the space that I'm sitting in. Karen can see it, but isn't here with me. So, if Power of Women resonates, follow us and share episodes, this episode or other episodes, and you can also follow and like us on LinkedIn, Facebook and Instagram. You can also jump onto the Power of Women website, which is powerofwomen.com.au. And if you'd like, connect with me directly and let me know if there is a guest or a topic that you'd like me to pursue. That's it for today.